To be honest, this weekend has suddenly become a lot more interesting than anyone expected, and not in a small way. We're talking about a situation that could genuinely shake things up heading into Martinsville Speedway. Out of nowhere, two major driver changes have surfaced at the same time, and both of them reveal a lot about what's happening behind the scenes in NASCAR right now. This isn't just about filling seats, it's about opportunity, pressure, and some serious questions about team strategies moving forward, and honestly, one of these moves is especially surprising. If you're the kind of fan who follows not just the races but also the decisions, driver swaps, and team strategies, then this is something you'll definitely want to pay attention to. Let's start with the first big move, involving Ross Chastain. If you've been keeping up with the 2026 season, you already know he's been everywhere. Chastain has been taking every opportunity he can get, racing across multiple series whenever possible. Recently at Darlington Raceway, he delivered an impressive second-place finish in the Truck Series with Nice Motorsports. On top of that, he also competed in the Xfinity Series with JR Motorsports, driving the part-time number 9 Chevrolet and finishing 14th. It wasn't a headline-grabbing result, but in such a competitive field, it was definitely a solid performance. Now here's where things take an unexpected turn. That same number 9 car will be back on track this weekend at Martinsville, but Chastain won't be behind the wheel. Instead, JR Motorsports is giving the opportunity to Lee Pulliam, and this is the move that has a lot of people doing a double take. Pulliam, 37, is a highly accomplished short-track racer. He's a 4-time NASCAR Whelen All-American Series Division I national champion and has multiple wins in the late model stock car tour. However, when it comes to recent NASCAR national-level experience, he's practically absent. His last appearances date back to just 6 starts in 2014 in the K&N Pro Series East, so this is a massive leap, making it both a bold opportunity and a potential risk. Now, before anyone assumes Chastain is out of the picture, he's not. He'll still be racing this weekend at Martinsville, just with a different team. This time, he'll be driving the number 91 Chevrolet for DGM Racing in partnership with Jesse Iwuji Motorsports. That means in just 4 Xfinity starts this season, he'll have driven for 3 different teams. That's pretty unusual and says a lot about how in demand he is right now. And it doesn't stop there. Chastain already has more races lined up this season. He's set to compete at Watkins Glen International in May and Sonoma Raceway in June with Jordan Anderson Racing, the same team he raced with earlier this year at Atlanta and COTA. There's also an important rule change that many fans might not realize. NASCAR has updated its regulations, allowing full-time Cup Series drivers with more than 3 years of experience to compete in up to 10 Xfinity races per season. Previously, that limit was just 5. What does that mean? Don't be surprised if we see Chastain back in that number 9 car later this year. At the end of the day, this raises a bigger question. Are these just temporary adjustments, or are teams quietly reshaping their long-term strategies? That's exactly what makes this weekend so intriguing. This really feels more like a rotation than a permanent replacement. Still, giving Lee Pulliam this opportunity at Martinsville Speedway is a big moment. He's a short-track specialist going into a short-track race, so on paper it makes sense. But at the same time, this could go in 2 completely different directions. It could turn out to be a brilliant decision, or it could be a very tough adjustment at this level. Now let's move to the second story, because this one is just as interesting. It involves veteran driver J.J. Yeley. This is a guy who has been around for a long time. He was aiming to make 2026 his 22nd Cup Series season and 23rd year in NASCAR national competition. That kind of longevity is rare. He attempted the Daytona 500 with NY Racing Team but didn't qualify. However, he bounced back the very next week at Atlanta and made the race. Since then, he hasn't returned to the Cup Series, but he has remained active in Xfinity. He competed at COTA with Young's Motorsports, where Brad Perez had to step in mid-race, and the car finished 28th. Then Yeley returned at Darlington Raceway with Hettinger Racing, finishing 25th. Now here's where things start to get a bit chaotic. That number 5 Ford from Hettinger Racing has basically turned into a revolving door this season. Multiple drivers have already taken turns in that car, including Luke Fenhaus, Tyler Gonzalez, and Chandler Smith. And now, for Martinsville, there's another change. Yeley is out this weekend, and stepping in is Luke Baldwin, a 19-year-old making his Xfinity Series debut. Again, this is one of those moves that immediately grabs attention. Baldwin has limited experience, just 5 Truck Series races in 2025 with ThorSport Racing. His best finish was 12th at Pocono, and he does have some Martinsville experience, finishing 22nd there, so at least he's not going in completely blind. But still, jumping into an Xfinity car at Martinsville, one of the toughest short tracks on the schedule, is a serious challenge for any young driver. And just like the first situation, there's no clear long-term plan here. Hettinger Racing hasn't confirmed anything beyond this race. No full-time driver, no long-term commitment. So even though Yeley is sitting out this weekend, it doesn't necessarily mean he's out for the season. This feels like another case of teams experimenting, rotating drivers, and seeing what works. When you look at both of these situations together, it paints a bigger picture of where the Xfinity Series stands right now. On one side, you have experienced Cup drivers like Ross Chastain moving between teams and maximizing opportunities under the new rules. On the other side, teams are giving chances to short-track veterans like Pulliam and young prospects like Baldwin. It's this mix of proven talent and fresh opportunity all coming together at once, and honestly, Martinsville Speedway is the perfect place for it. Short tracks bring pressure, tempers, and mistakes, but they also create moments where new names can stand out. So heading into this weekend, it's not just about who wins, it's about how these drivers perform. Can Pulliam surprise everyone in the number 9? Can Baldwin handle the pressure in his debut? And what do these decisions mean for the rest of the season? Because moves like these don't just stay at Martinsville, they can impact future races, future opportunities, and even entire careers. And that's exactly what makes this situation so fascinating right now. Alright, now I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about these moves? Do you like seeing new drivers get opportunities like this, or should teams stick with more experienced names? Drop your opinion. I'm curious to see where you stand. And if you look even deeper into the situation, it starts to feel like teams are not just making random decisions, they're testing the future in real time. For teams, races like Martinsville Speedway become more than just another stop on the schedule. They turn into evaluation grounds. Every lap becomes data. Every mistake, every overtake, every restart, it all matters. Take Lee Pulliam, for example. This isn't just a one-off opportunity. This is his chance to prove that short-track dominance can translate to the national level. If he performs well, even a top 15 finish, people will start paying attention. Teams could start seeing him as a serious option for more races, maybe even a part-time deal later in the season. But if things go wrong, it might reinforce the idea that success in lower series doesn't always carry over. The same pressure applies to Luke Baldwin. At just 19, this is a massive stage. There's a big difference between running a few truck races and jumping into the Xfinity Series, especially at a track like Martinsville. It's tight, it's aggressive, and there's almost no room for error. One small mistake and your whole race can fall apart. But if Baldwin keeps it clean, stays consistent, and maybe sneaks into a solid finish, that could instantly boost his reputation. And then there's the bigger picture with drivers like Ross Chastain and J.J. Yeley. These guys represent two completely different ends of the spectrum. Chastain is maximizing every opportunity, moving between teams, staying active, and keeping himself in the spotlight. Meanwhile, Yeley is relying on experience and consistency, waiting for chances and making the most out of limited opportunities. What's interesting is how both approaches are still relevant in today's NASCAR. There's no single path anymore. Some drivers build momentum by racing everywhere they can, while others stay patient and step in when needed. And teams, they're clearly open to both strategies.